so many really cool studies about women's voices over the years and our different speaking patterns. So we have the trailing off thing. There's a particular word for this, but I can't remember what it is. When at the end of our sentences, we tend to go up instead of going, and so it comes off as though it's a question, even though you're making a statement. And it's kind of that thing where it's like we're asking, without being explicit about it, we're asking for, was that right? Do you agree? Should I continue or should I stop? Am I being annoying? Whatever, right? We're asking for that validation of what we just said. The other really interesting thing is that over the past, I can't remember if it's 40 or 60 years, but the measurement of it is hertz. And we have significantly lowered our voices over the past few decades, and it aligns with women's advancement in the professional world. And again, it's that kind of thing where it's like, do we find ourselves pressured in one way or another to mimic men in order to achieve success or to be awarded the various things that a workplace can reward you with? And yeah, our voices have dropped significantly over the decades. And there was one woman in particular, she was running for a mayoral position in Europe.
Margaret Thatcher?
Yes. And she was specifically training to lower her voice, and like she crushed the training. Like she dropped her voice more hertz than they thought could happen. And then of course, as history has told us, she was successful. She got the nomination and she became the mayor. So it was, yeah, it's just crazy when you get into the studies about what women do with our voices, how we seek acceptance from people who are in positions of power over us with how we speak, even though it's not explicit. So we do those explicit things where we say, are you tracking what I'm saying? Or does that make sense? I just want to say, I hope I'm not being a burden, but then we have those other things that aren't explicit that we're still seeking those same approvals, but just through the tone of our voice and the different inclinations that we make in our voice while we make a statement, even though it sounds more like a question.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, Margaret Thatcher was I read a biography of hers like years ago, and she's definitely a pioneer in her field because I think she was she stayed in her term too. Do they have presidents or prime ministers in Britain?
Prime
I'm
Minister,
not sure.
I think.
Yeah. So British prime minister, and she like stood her term, and a lot of female prime ministers, which we haven't had a lot of them, but the ones that we have had, half of them like leave after a bit, and they're subjected to way more criticism that only females would get than male presidents or prime ministers. And that also reminds me of this study I read, where if women and men are in a meeting together, and they actually like tested this, it was a study, and women contributed an equal amount to their male counterparts, the participants rated the women dominating the conversation. So that's also an interesting concept, because I guess we're so used to having females not be the equal contributors that even when we do contribute literally equally, like by sentence, is how they measured it. People rate it to, like, it's perceived as we over contribute.
Exactly. And that comes down again to people's expectations of what is proper from men and women, right? We're expected to be the supporting role, not the protagonist. And so when we do take up more space in that meeting, fill that role, it's like, whoa, she was like way over the top. She was too domineering, whatever. We have a whole bunch of those words that we only use for women: sassy, bossy, all of these things that men don't get those labels with that negative connotation. And usually they get praise for doing the exact same thing, like taking the lead and way to take initiative and, all of those sorts of things. We've all experienced it way too many times, unfortunately.
Definitely.
Okay, so Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg had died at age 87 on September 18th due to metastatic pancreas cancer. Although she had become the longest serving woman in the US Supreme Court, she originally had difficulties, according to CBS News, finding a job after she graduated from Harvard, as she was Jewish, a woman, and a mother. Not only did she build an incredible career, she impacted many people's lives with her work as the director of the Women's Rights Project of the ACLU. Do you find inspiration from this woman and her career and hope to follow a similar path? Goals to equalize pay, normalize menstruation, and other issues women often have.
I don't believe that you can know everything that she did and not be just absolutely on fire to be even a fraction of the level of amazing that she was. She, like, absolutely, she's a hero. There's no other way to put it. Saying that she's a hero of mine, like, isn't even strong enough language to use. She is incredible, and she was incredible, and she overcame, as you mentioned, so much that it's astounding that she was able to make the impact that she did. Unbelievable. And when she was in law school, so she was a year behind her husband in law school, and they had their first child at this point in time. Her husband got sick with cancer, was unable to go to classes and stuff. She went to his classes, she went to her classes, she did all of their work, both of their work, while taking care of their daughter and caring for him because he was in the home. And she still made it, like, so she graduated him essentially because he wouldn't have been able to do it without her. But she also made it on the Harvard Law Review, which is like the top cluster of students within Harvard, which is already a huge accomplishment. And she was, I think, the first woman on Harvard Law Review ever. And yeah, she did so much. And that was just in law school. But then, like you said, afterwards, she couldn't get a job. Nobody wanted to hire a woman, a Jewish woman, all of that kind of stuff. But that ended up being a huge blessing because then she was able to take on all the civil rights work that she did. And it was really cool because the first case that she took to the United States Supreme Court, which was about gender inequality and wanting the same rights for men and women, it was actually, obviously it did huge things for women, which is what she's largely known for and praised for, but her client that she took to the United States Supreme Court was actually a man, and he was seeking some sort of benefit for taking care of a sick parent that wasn't available for men because they aren't supposed to be the caretakers, right? It's supposed to be the women. So it's really interesting that, like, obviously she's credited, and rightly so, with bringing women so far. Like, women in the States can do a lot of things that they wouldn't be able to do without Ruth Bader Ginsburg having fought for them in the way that she did. But the client that she took to that case that led to so many gender equality issues being rectified, her client was a man. So it's super interesting. But that was a whole lot of information that neither of you asked for. Yes, she is a hero, 100% she is. And again, like, if any of us could accomplish a fraction of what she did, we'd be doing extremely well. I'm not so delusional to think that I'm the Canadian version of RBG. But like I said, like, you get up every day and you try your hardest, and that's pretty much all you can do.
That's wonderful. Yeah, she is such a great motivation to everyone, I think.
Yeah,
that's
amazing.
crazy.
And the fact, like, that she, at like the ripe age of 83 or 82, 83, because it was when Trump got nominated to office, she was like, no, I gotta live for as long as I possibly can to make sure that everything's okay. So that's when she hired a personal trainer and started working out like 4 or 5 times a week. And she was literally like, I gotta stay alive because major things are at stake here.
So funny.
Yeah. So she was like pumping weights and everything to just try to stay healthy. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, she knew it was coming. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
Isn't didn't know
Can you
that.
imagine graduating for 2 people at Harvard? That is absolutely
No.
insane.
Yeah,
No,
it's
like,
unbelievable. I don't know how she did what she did. It was unreal. And her husband, like her husband's name was Marty, and truly every woman needs a Marty, because regardless of the time, regardless of the expectations, he knew that his wife, being Ruth Bader Ginsburg, was like something to behold, right? Like he knew that she was capable of incredible things, and he was right. And if he hadn't made the choices in his life that he did, he recovered from the cancer that he had when he was in his 3rd year. If he hadn't done the things for their family that he did, she wouldn't have had the space to do everything that she did, right? So it's this balance that it comes down to. And you know, although she did like all the work and her accomplishments are owed to her and her alone, I do think that it's important to acknowledge his role in all of it. And he definitely acted in a way that was not viewed as manly at the time, not viewed as conventional, for sure. Yeah, Marty, we give a round of applause to Marty for sure.
That is awesome. Oh man, yeah, we do, hey. Every person needs a Marty.
Yeah, for sure. Settle for nothing less.
Yeah, exactly.
this
Oh, that's
can't be
awesome.
the next RV. I mean, you could. Okay, so the next, I mean, I'm just saying, like, who knows? I think you could. I think we all could
I think
be
so.
the next Ruth. You got this. Find a way. The next question is, in an earlier post this year, you talked about how women often withhold from applying for leadership positions until they are overqualified, while men usually apply when they have just met the cusp of the criteria. Furthermore, women are more likely to underestimate their abilities than men and often have to work twice as hard to receive the same amount of credit. Have you faced similar obstacles as a lawyer? And what are some tips you would give for inspiring young women hoping to enter the law profession?
Okay, so, and this advice will go for women even not looking to enter the legal profession, but in anything and everything that we seek to do and work hard to do. So I certainly, yeah, as a woman in a male dominated profession or industry, there are certainly a lot of things that we need to be cognizant of all of the time, and that we need to do simultaneously while also just doing our job tasks in order to be successful in what we're doing. And that comes down again to a lot of the expectations that other people have of how we are supposed to be acting as a woman, and how when we do things versus how our male colleagues do things, they may be perceived very, very differently, although we are all working towards the same thing or maybe even doing the same thing. So there are a lot of things that we constantly have to be aware of that we're working on while doing all of our other job tasks. So like, yes, I do unequivocally believe that we have to work harder. Maybe not in the way that a lot of people think, because it's not just strictly here are your duties within your job title. I'm not saying that we have to work so much harder at those than our male colleagues do, but it's all of these other things that we're also having to work at while doing those job tasks. So